It's loading. Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2. All righty then. Let me press the record button. Da, 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 da. Assalamu alaikum, brother.
Peace to the God.
Peace to the universe. A lot going on, brother. And while we have this opportunity, we're gonna get straight into this show. What would you like to talk about, brother?
Bro, I'm open. I don't have anything in particular. That's I don't think I have anything that's weighing on me like that. Outside of the usual, you know. So I'm open.
Ooh, well, I got plenty. Um, the Diddy trial came to a verdict. What say you on that?
I'll say much to do about nothing.
Hmm. I would have the same sentiment, except for the fact that they tried to give a man 30 years to life based upon that nothing or bullshit that they tried to pull off. It it spoke to the theme that you came up with, changing the narrative that is expected of you
Mm-hmm.
or written of you. Um, it's they tried to paint Mr. Combs to be such a monster in the press and the public opinion that he was guilty before the trial even started. A lot has to do with these YouTubers and the lies that they print. What we did find out is that there is no so-called celebrities involved in these freak-offs. There's no Meek Mill, Justin Bieber, Usher, and all the other rumors that they had. Little Rod, Courtney Burgess, all of these characters who claimed so much and they couldn't even get a court case. So I know you always say, Dr. Moore, brother, you too involved.
Yeah, because half of the names that you just mentioned, I
You
wasn't
don't
familiar
even
with.
know or
Right,
give a fuck who they
right.
are.
But secondly, I was having a conversation earlier with my cousin,
Mm-hmm.
and he was telling me um something he was watching or reading. There was some allegations about this guy saying that Tyler Perry was trying to
Hmm.
sleep with him sexually, and he was going on and on about it. And I said, man, I don't know what you're reading or whatever. I said, but you know, so I don't know what the source is. I said, but and maybe it's just me, but I tend, to not believe, you know, he-
Bullshit.
hearsay when I hear
Bullshit.
allegations against people, because I
Right.
feel like people are so negative, and people, and I'm not sure, because I'm not diagnosing anybody, because I'm not getting paid to diagnose them.
That is
Um,
correct, sir.
so I'm not sure why people have so much resentment and hate for people and want to see people fail.
Hmm.
Um, you know, but I me personally, when I hear things about people, I tend not to believe it until it can be substantiated. You know, um,
Exactly.
if someone, is
Sorry.
claiming, if someone is claiming somebody did X, Y, and Z to them, you know, particularly as it relates to um, celebrityism, not necessarily in public, in my personal life,
Mm,
but in celebrity life, because I know most of the people that are telling me this information have as much access to these people's personal life as I do, which is none, right? And with the exception of social media. But I also tend to do that in my professional life. Like
mm,
I got a new client the other day,
mm,
and I had called the client to introduce myself.
mhm,
The client wasn't there, but his mom was there, so I spoke to the mom.
mhm,
And so the mother asked me, "Well, what do you know about him?" And you know already. And so I told her that it is my practice, my professional practice, with clients, is um, not to read
the profile.
information about the client prior to meeting the client,
Gotcha.
right? Because I don't like to form biases or judgments,
Mm,
or thought processes about a person before I meet them and make my own assessment.
mm,
Now I may go back later and read, unless there's a requirement for me to do so. But most of the time, I like to form my own first opinion of a
mm.
client, um, when I first meet them,
Yes,
and
sir.
and so um, so I'm saying that. So I just apply that kind of across the board when you know um, engaging in information.
Right. What do you think of people that try to put you away for 30 years?
I think you should stay away from folks like that.
It'd be bad for your health.
Right.
There's these white guys who exercise their political constitutional rights on these YouTube streets. In other words, they're white boys that test the police like they're going to a federal building filming. The federal police officer tells them, "Oh, you can't film in a federal building." And they challenge them with the Constitution. I can do whatever the fuck I want, and they get away with it. So you got these black guys who are super intelligent. Um, this is a show about black satire, so some of the things you hear, don't believe the hype. But there's these super intelligent black guys that are trying the same thing with terrible results, brother.
They
It's
don't
just
sound
a
super.
matter.
They don't sound super intelligent to me.
They think they could do what the white boys do.
Nothing intelligent about that to me.
It's like you see a white boy going to a lion's cage and the lion hits them all and they cool together. That you take your Negro behind in that same cage, and that lion will tear your ass up. You will be lunch. So that's basically what's happening that I'm observing, brother. I try to keep it comical because if you don't laugh, you'll cry about it. What do you think about these types of nuts who compare, they think that the freedoms and privileges that some white people exercise is something they can exercise too, fucking with these cops. And the cops have an incentive to shoot your punk ass.
Well, um, um, what's that saying? And excuse my French. Fuck around and find out. So,
Can you imagine a Negro trying to cuddle up to a 500-pound gorilla because he saw white folks do it?
yeah, well,
Now, I've seen people in Africa in the jungles do that shit, but we not African, nor we in the jungle. Let's stay grounded, people. And that was my joke of the day, brother. I hope you like it. You are listening to Black Mental Health and Race. I am your host, MF Doug AF. My co-host is Dr. Moore. Welcome back, Dr. Moore.
mhm.
Um, I would be remiss in my duty if I didn't play our disclaimer. Bear with me 1 second. Let's get that out the way. This is a show about black satire, and anything that you hear is just a joke. These are just jokes, folks. Now, as Dr. Moore would say, we do talk about serious topics, but we are not in any way on here as professionals. Although Dr. Moore is a real professional doctor with a doctorate in clinical psychology and a study in depression of black men. I think it gives us some type of credentials to at least call the show Black Mental Health and Race. Your take on that, Dr. Moore, before I play the disclaimer.
Well, um, I think, I mean, depending on what we're talking about, I am not giving advice because I'm not, well, I, I, I can't say I'm not giving advice. It depends on what we're talking about. But typically, I am not diagnosing or doing any professional work when we are doing this podcast because I'm not getting paid to do that. This is actually for me, an opportunity to catch up with an old friend and talk about some serious things and um, in somewhat of a lighthearted way at times.
Yes, sir.
So,
As we always did about this time.
yep.
All righty then. Let me get to this disclaimer. Um, any thoughts on Hulk Hogan dying, brother?
Um,
Don't say
Disclaimer, warning, the content will examine phenomena that some would find offensive, inappropriate, insensitive and triggering. This content neither suggests, nor implies, medical, or any other professional advice. This is a light-hearted discussion of a comedian and his therapist friend engaged in hypothetical conversation on black mental health and race. In no way are the following views and content associated, or affiliated, with this, or any other, platform that this podcast may be accessed. All information and opinion are independent expression of free speech that a reasonable person may freely consider adapting or opposing in their own paradigm.
peace, my brother.
peace to the God.
Peace to the universe. You're listening to Black Mental Health and Race. I am your host, MF Doug AF, and my co-host is Dr. Moore. Um, your take on the death of Hulk Hogan, brother. I know you got a lot to say and a lot of crocodile tears to shed for him.
Well, I actually don't have much to say at all.
It's a negative, brother.
Yeah, it's actually, rest in peace.
Yes, sir.
I am
Acknowledge Hulk Hogan. I was entertained by him more than one occasion as a teenager. But when I was a child, I spoke as a child. And now that I'm grown, it's time for me to rethink Hulk Hogan. Malcolm Jamal Warner. Rest in power, brother. Brother was 54, going on 55, and lost his life to a riptide. I keep telling you, people, be very, very careful. But as careful as we can be, nothing can save us from our destiny. Now that rhymes, brother. You should write it down.
okay.
Your thoughts on Malcolm Jamal Warner?
Every contract.
Now, there's a life I feel like um, was cut short too soon.
Mm,
Um, phenomenal brother, phenomenal person, phenomenal father. Just really good person, good energy. Really sorry to hear about his passing.
mm,
I felt like he just had so much more contributions to give to the world, and maybe God, maybe Allah, felt different. I am not sure. Um, that's a death that um, leaves me, perplexed and saddened, um, and questioning, you know, um, his departure so soon.
yes,
He
sir.
was he was just full of gifts and talent, and I subjectively felt had so much more to give to the world, but maybe God felt different. So um, I know that I can't always make sense of the things that I see, hear, feel, and experience. And uh, he was definitely one of those. He is definitely one of those situations for me.
Indeed. Indeed. Rest in peace. That was a shocker.
Yeah, you know, interesting enough. On a side note, when I was younger, and showing my age, because he and I are actually the same age. So
Wow.
when I was in high school, the same time that he would have been in high school, you know, the people used to always say that that I look like him, and so
Mm-hmm.
it it definitely touched me a little bit because that was an ongoing thing, when I was younger, and I thought it was particularly when the girls would say that I would assume that they must, have the same type of crush that they had on him. They must be having on me if they're telling me that's what I remind them of.
That's right, brother.
Uh,
Don't take no shit off of nobody.
yeah,
That's right. You a player.
yeah,
Those were the days, brother, when we were all over the place.
hmm
We thought we were God's gift to women.
hmm yep. I definitely did for a long time.
I'm doing you a favor, miss.
Yeah.
Oh
So
Lord. for the days, brother. There's a, I guess he's more than a professor, but he studies. I forgot what it was. The way DNA and evolution work together in some biological soup that explains our behaviors from a gene aspect, from what your genes tell you about people and why we do the things we do. I may introduce you to his website. I know your time is very limited, Dr. Moore, but it's interesting to see how he links these behaviors to similar case studies in psychology and psychotherapy. Very fascinating guy.
Mm. Okay.
I forget his name now, but I'll get back to you on it. So happy early birthday to my aunt, and um, I don't even know if I'm using the word in the right context. Grand rising to my aunt of 99 and a half years old. She would have been 100 on November 14th, 2025. That means she was born in 1925, brother. And you know, one of the craziest things she ever told me, and we would have these big arguments over, was the fact that she said she never experienced racism. Born in 1925. This is before. This is still in the Jim Crow area, in the Gilded Age in New York City. Um, she said she never experienced racism, brother. What do you think?
Well, I think you can only experience racism if you understand what racism is.
Hmm. Or you could just deny that it exists.
Right. Well, again, so if you don't know what racism is, I mean, there's no way that she was born in 1925, and there was signs that said,
Whites
niggas
only.
over here, whites over here, and black folks can't go to white folks' schools, and black folks can't, got to ride the back of the bus. If you live through all that, if you live through the civil rights era, if you live through Martin Luther King, if you live through Malcolm X, you live through Jim Crow. I mean, there's no way you could say you never experienced racism, logically.
Power, brother. That's the power of whiteness. You can deny your Holocaust. I once said that I described my aunt as a self-hating Jew. She was like a reverse Archie Bunker. The personification of Uncle Ruckus in the female form.
Mm.
Uh, she always was like, I'm not gonna hire niggas to do nothing in my house. I'm gonna hire white boys because they'll get the job done.
Mm.
Who knows? But I know niggas used to get chased out of the neighborhood. She said she never got chased. Now, interestingly enough, she had a Italian stepfather, and I believe they're some of the most racist bastards on the planet Earth. Italian Americans, Irish Americans, not all, of course. To people out in the audience that may be listening, but the majority of the ones here in New York City, oh, they'll remind you where you are better than the South, brother.
Mm.
which is why we have to talk about. Did you see the racist incident that took place in Ridgewood, Queens, New York City, where 3 people beat on a black woman?
No,
You didn't see that?
no.
Wow. I have to send you there. Let me see if I can share my screen so that you can see this. Blah, 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 blah. Do, 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 do. Let the boys be boys. I'm surprised you didn't see this, but once again, I need to get busy, brother. I got degrees I need to master.
Well, they're not.
That surrounds both the murders of.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying that. You know, they don't really share New York news with DC folks.
Y'all don't give a fuck.
You know, we gotta. I would have to go seek that knowledge out.
You make a valid point, brother. Valid. Let me see if I can. Yeah, this.
We have our own violence and killing sprees here.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
and we can't be concerned with you out of towners.
What's up with you, boy? What's his damn name? Malik Zulu Shabazz.
Oh yeah, what's up with them?
Yeah.
Is there something new?
I still think he was an agent, brother.
Really,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
You never said that. I don't think I've ever heard you say that. What?
Him and Dr. Uma. And now Tariq Nasheed. Do you know that this fool, I think he was close to the minister, but this fool has now have this theory on foundational blacks. Have you heard it of this and do you agree with it?
I have no idea what you are referencing.
Tariq Nasheed, a concept of foundational blacks, meaning that if we were to get reparations, we need to separate the niggas in America one from another because only the foundational blacks, only the African descendants of slavery, look at this acronym, brother, African descendants of slavery, ADOS. So only ADOS and foundational black Americans, FBAs, are entitled to reparations because we're the only ones that went through slavery. I'll leave that in your precious hands, brother, to explain.
Wait a minute. You have to repeat that. That sounded very confusing to me. This is
FBA,
okay.
F as in Frank, B as in boy, A as in African.
FBA.
Foundational Black Americans believe that they are the ones who came on the ships, and they are the only ones qualified for reparations.
Based on what?
The fact that they descended from the ships.
But I'm saying based on what? How are they determining that?
I thought you could explain that, brother.
Well,
I
I'm not.
don't I don't agree with them one fucking bit.
I mean, I would be able to explain it if I was in agreement or if I knew what they were. So,
All
this
right.
is my.
How about this one? ADOS, African descendants of slavery. These niggas believe that they are the only ones that should get reparations for the same reasons. Um, but they acknowledge that they're African, not black, and that they are descendants of Africans in America through slavery.
But again, based on what? How are they determining this?
That I was going to leave to you, Dr. Moore. You have the doctorate.
Well,
Only you could understand these Negroes.
then a doctorate would say to me, then you need to substantiate your claim. You can't just say. I can't argue with someone who can't substantiate what they're saying. I mean, based on what? Based on. I mean, I need some facts because we don't just do barbershop talk. We don't. You can't. You can't walk into. Uh, you can't walk into a scholarship environment and tell me that you feel some type of way, and not be able to that
Substantiated, right?
right, or well, not necessarily that you feel some type of way, or that something is a particular way, without being able to substantiate it. Otherwise, that's just an opinion.
Mm.
Your opinion is that you are, you know, only you are entitled to. I mean, that's no different than, a a, a, a Nazi or any other redneck or racist idiot um, that feels like only white folks are entitled to land in America, or only white
Mm.
folks entitled to X, Y, Z. What's the difference in terms of the premise?
Exactly. Which would be my point. Because now you got Negroes fighting each other over, I am African from the continent of Africa. Oh, that's okay because I am foundational Black American. No, I am African. So now all these towers of Babel, as the scriptures say, are fighting each other. So this is the essence of, speaking of the word essence, a fight, not a physical fight, but a political fight for the essence of words being destroyed by the infiltration of African entertainment instead of Black American entertainment. Now, I'll leave it to you to sort it all out, brother, with your analytical skills. What happened?
Tell you what I'll do.
So I'm looking, brother. Let me tell you something.
I will waste my valuable time trying to figure out useless information like that.
Now, brother. See if I can share my damn screen with you. La 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 la. You are listening to Black Mental Health and Race. This is a show about black satire. Um, it's an entertaining way to look at the world rather than take anything too serious. Although we should take everything very serious because our lives are on the line every day. But the way you get through it is up to you as well. But I would rather laugh my way through than cry my way through this existence that we find ourselves in. How about you, Dr. Moon? How do you look at it, life?
I look at life way too serious, bro. I'm just being honest with you, bro. I look at life way too serious. I'm way too serious. Most of the time, I don't.
You in panic mode 24/7.
No, not panic mode. I'm just a serious person. Um, you know, probably a little too serious. Most of the time.
Yes, sir.
Outside of probably this podcast with you, I don't do a lot of giggling. Um, unless you know,
Scratching when you don't itch.
yeah, I'm not. You know,
A slapstick to other person.
yeah, I'm just.
Chewing the fat.
Yeah, yeah. I tend to, I tend to be a little bit on the serious side.
Yes, sir.
More often than not. Um, well, I agree that I think humor and all that stuff is good. Um, but I'm just not the most humorous person. I don't. I
You
don't go
don't
out of my.
suffer fools easily.
No, I don't. I don't. And in fact, if I think if my son, I don't know if I said this to you, but when my son was turned about 17, I think he he said to me, he said, "Dad, I think I finally get you. I think I finally get you." And I didn't um, really understand what he meant at the time, but
Mhm.
a little bit later in life, he told me, he said, my friends would always ask me, "Is your dad mean?" You know, he said because you always look so serious that they just assume that you were a mean person. And I said, he said, but I now know, having lived with you all this time, that your look could be misleading because you
Hmm.
look so serious that it looks like you might be mad. He's like, but I know now, that doesn't mean that. And he said, in fact, um, because of the way he saw me as a kid,
Hmm.
he um, purposely tries not to look so serious all the time. And I said to him, I said, I'm not sure how I'm supposed to take that. You know, so
You're like Cleo and Cliff Huxtable. He trying to talk to his son.
yeah, yeah. So and my son can be goofy at times, but he's really goofy with his mom. But with me, not so much. And when he's too goofy, I'll tell him, Clear, stop playing with me. Clear, stop being goofy. Because he'll, you know, too goofy is too much for me. So I can't take too goofy.
And cut out the fools.
Yeah, I don't, I'm not gonna do goofy all day. I'm not sitting around laughing all day. That's not my thing. But I deal with serious situations all day. So
Yes, sir.
but it's funny because my wife is very much a comedy person. She loves comedy,
Hmm.
and so I can appreciate that because a lot of times, we're going to comedy shows because I know that she likes comedy.
Wow.
In fact, my birthday is next week.
Hmm.
So it's my birthday, right? But I'm taking her
Hmm.
to a comedy show um,
Nice.
for my birthday next week. It's called Ladies Night, and it's a comedy show.
Ooh, that sounds really nice.
You know what?
Mhm.
You know what? I was actually supposed to be in New York tonight.
Get out of
Um,
here.
yeah, my wife was actually supposed to be bringing me to New York for my birthday weekend.
Hmm.
So she had plans to take me to New York today,
Hmm.
and on tomorrow, Saturday, she's gonna take me because I'm a Shannon Sharpe fan.
Hmm.
So Shannon Sharpe and Chad Ochocinco, they have a podcast they do called Nightcap,
Right.
and so they're on their Nightcap tour, and
Get out of here.
and they're in New York, and so she had gotten tickets um, to take me to New York. We were gonna be there Friday, Saturday, and then leave on Sunday. But
That's really nice.
yeah, but I had to cancel because my Masonic lodge is having third degree tomorrow,
Wow.
and we just found out this week that we're gonna do third degree tomorrow. So I actually had to cancel my birthday plans.
Wow.
Yeah,
That Shannon Sharpe thing sounds cool. We're
yeah.
gonna get into Shannon Sharpe, Tyler Perry. We spoke about Diddy already, but there's a lot of black billionaires, particularly black male billionaires. It's hunting season on their heads. So many lawsuits and things. Maybe Dr. Moore will discuss to you um, in a behavioral type agenda about keeping your penis in your pants. Um,
Well, I think I don't know that everything is psychological, right? Um,
correct.
and I think that while I am a fan of Shannon Sharp, I disagree with his behavior, right? And I always have in terms of um, dating younger women. I don't agree. And two things can be true. I mean, I can like you um, for the work that you do, but not necessarily like some of the things that you do in your personal life, and that's just your personal life. I just might disagree with, and that's one of the things that I do disagree with.
Mm,
Um, I don't think that he, as a 50-something-year-old man, should have been dating someone that's in their 20s. Now,
mm,
with 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 saying that, right? I
mm,
also feel like if we're going to sue him for
mm,
a conduct of alleged rape or alleged abuse, I don't think that that should be a civil case. I think it should be a criminal case. And
mm,
if you did a physical crime to you, then I think that no money should be
mm,
justifiable to um, to replace the physical, mental, psychological um, um, event that took place. And so, for this person to sue him for X amount of dollars and then settle the case based on millions of dollars, and then go on social media and say, I am retiring from I'm retiring my OnlyFans site. I'm no longer going to do my own. I find that very problematic. Um, that this person was not suing him for criminal charges, but suing
mm,
him for civil charges.
mm,
So I don't know what did or did not happen, but what I do know is that the money superseded anything else.
mm. And that's where we get into one of our subjects tonight is believing all women is fine, particularly when it comes to rape situations, because they have been denied historically for a myriad of reasons, some of which feminists would claim to be misogynistic, that men don't have the empathy to believe women have been molested or raped or any of these other sexual misconduct allegations. But I think you bring up a great point. If there's no police reports and there's no, you have access to a phone, unlike a person who's actually sexually trafficked, they don't have one day to themselves. There's no vacations, no luxury gifts, no luxury accommodations for a person that's actually sexually trafficked. And so you have to really question what's going on in the field of law now, where psychology and behaviors are creeping into the way that we decide who's telling the truth and who's telling lies. But if you don't have any trail of police incidents, it's hard to believe or take the mantra serious. Believe all women when it comes to sexual allegations. Your thoughts, Dr. Moore?
In terms of believing all women,
Mm-hmm.
well, so I don't want to make it a woman issue for me because it's not about believing all women. Um, I, I'm only dealing with this from a celebrity world, not
Yes, sir.
from a personal world or a world outside of celebrityism, because I think if a person um, who's not a celebrity says that they have been, you know,
Sexually
sexually
assaulted.
assaulted, I think it should be taken very serious. Um, However, in the celebrity world, it's a little different to me because um, I'm always thinking about motive,
Hmm.
right? Um, if this person isn't a celebrity, is what he or she did a crime, right? If
Hmm.
we if we're gonna look, even if we talked about the Diddy case, but what we have this learned or discovered upon what was shown throughout the Diddy case, while Diddy is completely guilty of physical, um, psychological battery, harm, um, he is not guilty of things being complicit and things being consensual. So it blurs the lines when it to me when it comes to celebrities because there always seems to be a motive. Um, a lot of times there seems to be a motive when it comes to celebrityism, where there's something to be gained. Whereas in the real world, that's a little different. So I tend to look at those situations very, very differently.
Hmm. What do you think about um, I wrote this little play paper on the why do you think trauma bonding, which is like a new term for criminal activity towards women, and them becoming like Stockholm syndrome. Uh, that's in the DSM manual, but this
What
new
is
term,
what's in DSM?
Stockholm syndrome,
Oh, Stockholm syndrome.
hmm
Um, okay.
where people are attracted to their abusers. If I'm gonna summarize what it means, is that correct?
Yeah, Stockholm syndrome has everything to do with when a person um, is in love or attracted in some way to their abuser. Yeah.
Yeah. So now trauma bonding, interestingly enough, is not in the DSM manual, but they said it's still a new type of study, and it doesn't have enough study to be a part of the manual. Did you understand that to be the case?
Well, I'll tell you what I think about trauma bonding.
So I'm looking, brother. Let me tell you something.
Yeah. I think trauma bonding is bullshit.
Hmm,
And I think
I
what
agree.
I think what has happened and what is happening in the world of mental health
Hmm,
is now that we are talking about mental health more, we're talking about mental health awareness. People are now walking around with these labels.
hmm.
They're using mental health in the most um
Favorable light to themselves.
what they're using mental health in the most uneducated way.
Right.
They're using words now to label themselves to justify why they
Without
are or why
diagnosis.
they can't do X, Y, and Z. So now everybody has a label. Everybody's ADHD. Everybody's trauma bonding.
Hmm,
Everybody has a trauma. And I don't think everything is a trauma. I
hmm,
think some things are just life experiences.
hmm.
And now people are hiding behind mental health in this way and using mental health in a way that it was never supposed to
Get
be
paid.
used to in a way that, or in a way to justify their
Poor
lack of
behavior. Right.
their lack of being being productive.
Gotcha.
I can't do X, Y, and Z because of my 88
Hmm.
ADD or ADHD or because of my trauma or because of this. I gotta build uh, 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 I gotta cut people off or I gotta have boundaries because of my and so
Or I got to have now this new one because you seeing dogs on the train. A security. What do they call it?
what they
Not a
call it they
security.
call it emotional support animals, right?
Can you imagine sitting next to a monkey, brother,
Yeah.
on the
So
plane?
yeah. So
It's
so
my
now
emotional support animal,
yeah,
brother.
so now they're having restaurants where people are in the restaurant with the dogs. I mean, it look, I mean,
It's
that's
gotten
problematic.
bad, brother.
Yeah, it's I think it is a misrepresentation of productive mental health, and I think that people are weaponizing,
Hmm.
mental health in a very dysfunctional way. Um, mental health. There's another therapist I heard say something like this. Um, People are talking about mental health in this way that mental health needs to be protected. And mental health is not something that needs to be protected. Mental health is not something that's so fragile,
Right.
right?
That you
Um,
should have
that
Nancy Grace and Megan Kelly explain to you.
right that you sometimes you somehow got to walk around on eggshells because you're trying to guard your mental health. You know, so I think that
Or
that's
you
bullshit.
could be falsely accused of shit because somebody tells you that their mental health has been affected.
Yeah. So everything now is a trauma bond.
Hmm.
Now everything is so fragile. Nobody can say anything to you. Nothing can happen because you're guarding your mental health. And and every time there's a coworker, there's a person in your family that says something that you don't like, that's traumatic. right? That's trauma for you,
You can go into crisis.
right? And so the reality is, mental health is something that's supposed to make you stronger. Mental health is something not to be protected, but something that you utilize. And if you're not utilizing your mental health and you're not using it effectively, you are supposed to become aware of mental health so that you can be stronger, not so that you can walk around on eggshells and be so fragile that everything that makes you uncomfortable breaks you.
It's sickening, brother. It's very disheartening to see people using this shit to get paid in full. And then you got people like these commercialized Karens on TV. One of the things that caused a lot of black male youth to die prematurely and by horrible deaths was white women lying on them. If a white woman sheds tears, like in the movie King Kong, you have this big beast with the precious, pure blonde white in his hand, and he could crush her. And if she cries or screams, here comes the white man to save her. That's the imagery in King Kong that's hidden from most people, hidden in plain sight. But my point was how if a white woman cries or complains or protests about something, it means that a black male is going to jail, or or at the least, and probably at the extreme of that, going to an early grave.
Yeah, well, I think, depending on the situation.
I sent you a video. Did you get it?
When tonight?
Yeah, I just sent it. May take a
Um,
minute to get there.
it wouldn't inform me while I was on the phone.
Oh, okay. All right. Let me see if I can share my screen instead. You got to see this fight that's on. Oh, no wonder. No wonder.
It's not going to come completely through while I'm on the phone.
Right. Got you. I'll do it this way.
It's buffering.
Yeah. Let me do it this way. Da 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 da. Do 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 do. Start broadcast. Share my screen. Alrighty then. Can you see my screen now?
Mm-hmm.
La 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 la. Of course, it's not here. Do, do, do. Alrighty then.
You got almost 50,000 items.
It's why my phone can't function properly.
If you're spending this much time on social media, you should make some money.
I should, right? I'm too nice. Like people would be giving out their cash app right now. Um, I don't feel like I should charge people to listen to me, but maybe I'm the dummy, brother.
Yeah, well, even if you're not charging people to listen to you, you should be at least monetizing what you're doing on social
Compensate
media.
for my time, right?
Um, are you on TikTok?
Yeah.
There's some things that you can do on TikTok.
Hmm.
Some type of sharing that you can do. Um,
Right. And
and
make money
you,
that way.
and you can make money instantly.
Right. Um, I guess I'm not that popular.
Well, even if you're not that popular, let's say from what I understand, and I'm not on TikTok. I just was listening to a guy who was on TikTok, but he
Hmm.
was saying how you know he would go on and he would like bless somebody, so he might give them X amount of dollars, and in return, that person might give him X amount of dollars, and it just kind of like you know, so
Happens.
everybody's yeah, it just everybody's kind of blessing one another, so to speak.
Right.
And I don't know if I'm using the right terminology, but
Yeah. That sounds about right.
um, we should
They
definitely look into it.
patronize each other and they
Right,
build their channels together.
right.
Yep. I'm familiar with it. Let me play you this clip, brother. You can see my screen, right?
Yep.
Okay.
I love these, man. You're an immigrant. You're an immigrant. Except my slave. I'm not gonna stay for this work.
Look, this is a boy. Yo! Yo! Hold up, hold up! No, no. They're all getting.
Yep. That's it, brother. Now back to you, brother. You still there?
Yep.
So this is the black woman that was attacked in Ridgewood, Queens. Racist Ridgewood, Queens. Um, what do you think of that?
I don't
And
know. I mean,
and
um,
let me that ain't even half the story. The first person that attacks the black woman is a transgender female. The third person that attacks the lady is a Jewish male with a yarmulke on. You know that he has not been arrested, nor can they find him. Sounds familiar, doesn't it, brother? We come from the days of Michael Griffith and Yusef Hawkins, but it has happened in other generations. The Trayvon Martins, the Brown, forgot his name, Brown or Rice, Fernando Castile, in those generations. And this generation now has multiple scenarios like this, brother, where modern day New York City, which is supposed to be so highly diversified, is showing its true colors. Now, I remember when Ridgewood, Queens, Howard Beach, Bensonhurst, and places like that in Brooklyn and Queens were sundown towns, even though they weren't a town necessarily. They're just a neighborhood. If you were caught there after dark and you were black, which is what happened to Yusef Hawkins, um, you're going to get baseball batted down. And it went to the extreme with Yusuf Hawkins. Not only did they chase him with bats, but I believe the assailant's name is Joey Farmer, shot Yusuf Hawkins in the chest and killed him that night in a racially motivated attack. If you can recall, these incidents been so long ago, brother, but the trail of pattern persists. Whenever white women cry out, the consequences for black males could be termination of your life. Your thoughts, Dr. Moore?
Hmm. That clip seemed really, really short, so I really don't know the backdrop, of that.
She was arguing with the three people over a parking spot, and she said that she called the woman an immigrant, and the daughter got mad, and so that is the daughter, transgender daughter, that is attacking the black woman first. The mother jumps in, and then the Jewish man who's supposedly holding the parking spot jumps in as well. And they all beat her, pulled her hair out of her braids, and two of them were arrested, the mother and the daughter. The mother seems like she's like from one of these Eastern Bloc European countries, like some type of Slavic country, like Yugoslavia, Ukraine, Poland, London, Russia, or something like that. She has a Russian name, if I'm not mistaken, Dmitov or something like that, last name. But her daughter, I believe, has a Puerto Rican father, and so she's like mixed Puerto Rican and Russian or whatever Slavic nation that is. And she's a transgender. And she's beating this black girl like a man.
Um, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't know that I see it as, um,
Racial?
yeah, I don't know if I see it as racial. I see it as more,
I don't think it's racial because racial is the system. Now, the systems part of it, which is racial, is the fact that only the two people arrested during this brutal beating were the mother and daughter. The third guy gets away with impunity. He's not being prosecuted at all, nor is he being looked for, nor in the media are they mentioning that this third guy participated wholly in this beatdown. That's the systematic part that you shouldn't be surprised about. The systematic part also is that a black woman would get jumped in this neighborhood. This is not unusual. Um, that part is racial. The part where she's actually attacked is what we call bigotry, meaning that you have something against another race, a hatred for another race. It's not part of the system of racism. Racism being a system to distinguish it from bigotry, if that makes any sense, Dr. Moore.
hmm, I don't know. I think you're looking at it from a maybe a deeper level than what I saw. I as a layperson watching it, it just looked like a bunch of foolishness. Um, and you know, when emotions is high, intelligence is low. So
Mm.
it looked like to me, I didn't know that they were arguing over a parking spot, but it just looked like a situation that escalated, and you had a bunch of people that were just um, emotionally exhausted, and it came to fisticuffs. Um, I don't know how deep it will go. I don't know the community like that. Maybe you know the community better than me. Um, but I could see an incident like that happening here, um, in DC. So, you are more aware of that area than I am. And so I don't know if you, based on your knowledge and experience of the neighborhood, that you are associating it with the history of that neighborhood, or
The
it has
history.
right. So and I don't know that. So as a layperson, it looked like a regular community. I don't know if those people, dislike black people or just dislike the situation and what was happening. I don't know.
Right.
And I don't know what their history are. I don't know if those three people know one another. I'm not, I don't know if something they've had words in the past. I don't know how close they are or not close. I don't know any of those factors. Um,
Well, here's the interesting thing. Although all three people participated in the beating that you just saw, do you know that the mother and daughter got up and apologized the next day because they were protesting in front of her house? Um, she's getting death threats. So their apology came at the advice of a legal counsel. So they had a little at-home interview with, believe, the lawyer that was representing them to explain their side and apologize because they're now being charged with felony battery, I believe, not just simple misdemeanors, but not a hate crime. Um, the funny thing about that whole situation is they deny that they know the third man. So they're saying that this guy just randomly came up out of nowhere. They've never seen him before in their lives. And so it brings question to their sincerity of their apology because they are clearly trying to hide the third person. The third person was there participating with them. What they don't show you in the video is that he was participating in the argument because he was vested in keeping that parking spot. But now the two women are claiming that they don't know the third man. They've never seen him ever in life. So that part is what's reminiscent of the police, the community, and the people just standing there witnesses. There's only one white boy that got up and said, "Hey, that's a boy. You can't let that boy beat on that woman like that." Yeah, you're listening to Black Mental Health and Race. I am your host, MF Doug, and my co-host is Dr. Moore. If you'd like to leave your opinion on that situation, you can reach me at 929-214-0543 and leave a text message. I don't want to keep you long, brother. Um, we got to Malcolm Jamal. Somebody else died. Oh, Ozzy Osbourne. Rest in power.
you didn't know that.
I don't know about, yeah, that's a great rock star. I'm not into rock music, but he's very famous. beyond his music, like Michael Jackson was to us. He's pretty high ranking when it comes to the world of rock music and just white people in general. But his appeal crossed over into black communities as well that either follow the genre or just know him as a TV personality. They had a reality show, um, like Hulk Hogan and his family had a reality show.
Mm-hmm.
But those were the famous deaths since we've been gone. We talked about the Diddy trial and the verdict that he's not guilty of that. Oh, that's what I wanted to say about the Diddy trial. Um, if he were to be found guilty of sex trafficking, that would mean that every person that throws a bachelor party could be guilty of sex trafficking. That's how stupid this lawsuit was. And you had professional lawyers trying to condemn the man to 30 years to life, saying that he was sexually trafficking two girls, which one was the baby mother of 50 Cent. They kept her name anonymous. And then you have Cassie Ventura, who was the girlfriend for 11 years. Not one police report, but she is the victim in all of this. A $30 million victim now, brother.
Yeah, bro. So, you know, so it becomes problematic when, you know, um, we start to try to have conversations about millionaires, super millionaires, and their lifestyle, the things they do, how they do them. It just seems, you know, I don't know. It so much focus on people's lives like that. Um, I don't know. I don't feel equipped to give so much of my attention to, um, to that
Yes,
because,
sir.
they're making money off of, me talking about them
Mm.
while, you know,
You ain't making it done.
right. Now somebody might be making a dime talking about them, but I ain't. Um, so, you know, what did in his personal life, um, I don't know.
Well, that's the ironic thing about it. They put his personal life on trial, which is not a crime. And if they didn't win the case, they've already won the destruction of Bad Boys Entertainment, Sean Combs' enterprise. He'll never be the same again. He'll never recover
I don't
from
know.
this.
I don't know about that, bro. And the reason why I say that is because people's memories are very short term. Um, if you ask people modern day,
Mhm.
who's the person that Bill Clinton allegedly had sex with in the Oval Office? Man,
Mhm.
you know how many people don't remember that or don't know that, or
Mhm.
particularly talking about the younger generation? They're like,
Mhm.
who's Bill Clinton? I mean, if in modern day,
Mhm.
if Trump didn't bring up Obama, people will forget
Mhm.
that he was president.
Yep.
So I don't know that I believe that he's done. I think that he could reinvent himself. And he might not be P. Diddy. He's changed his name 20 times. He might be, John Papalopoulos, next year. And
Eating
doing
Popple.
right, and doing something completely different. I mean, if Kanye West can say the things that he said, right, do the things that he's done, and then start a gospel ministry and still have followers, there's no way I'm going to sit here and say I think that P. Diddy is done. Because I wouldn't, man, let me tell you, if P. Diddy, if P. Diddy say he changed his ways and he became Prophet Diddy, Prophet Combs, man, he could have a mega church tomorrow.
With that claw.
He could have a mega church tomorrow. And talking about nothing but repenting.
Amen, brother. It was a lovely selection from our choir.
And he could make nothing but gospel hits until he hits the grave.
Yes, sir.
He could revamp his whole thing. He could turn that shit around and he becomes,
Who's it against?
Reverend Combs. He could start making movies. He could start making gospel songs. He could start making all of this completely 360 stuff. Jump on it, they would jump on it like white on rice.
Well, that's why I have a job offer for you, brother. I want you to be the voice of reason for celebrity black male billionaires. You're only gonna have like 8 clients, brother, but it'll be one of the biggest, most important job you'll ever take if you will accept my offer, brother. Because you gotta help these Negroes. We may include some multi-millionaires like Shannon Sharpe, but if you accept the job, brother, I'm gonna put you on their list for personal behavior training. How about that, brother?
Brother, I really appreciate the offer. But unfortunately, I am going to have to decline at this time.
At this time, brother?
Yes.
I'm
we live in a world of people who made Chick-fil-A sandwich versus Popeye's chicken sandwich
a thing.
so popular that for about 2-3 months you couldn't get into Chick-fil-A or Popeyes because the line was around the corner because people were sampling Chick-fil-A versus Popeye sandwich. And it was such a challenge that if you didn't get on social media with your Chick-fil-A and your Popeye
your little
sandwich,
commercial,
you were not a relevant person.
right?
So I have to
That's what we've come to, brother.
I have to respectfully decline to take any offer of.
Now, who am I going to get these blackmail millionaires and billionaires in line? We got to talk about Shannon Sharpe, brother, before you go. I got to let you go. I know you don't want to be up all night tonight. You got a big day tomorrow. But Shannon Sharpe, we have to talk about briefly, and we can limit it to a sentence or less.
But we already talked about Shannon Sharpe.
Well, we didn't talk about him in terms of behavior. And Tyler Perry, in terms of behavior. And who else they got on the list now? Well, there's a lot more coming up. And that's the last thing I'll say on the Diddy trial. All of the allegations in the criminal trial means beyond reasonable doubt. That's the proof system. But with these civil cases, it doesn't take as much evidence. In fact, it's a very low bar to prove that you can take money from Diddy, especially now that the federal trial is over. So this is the point where I say that most black people don't understand um, that this is chess, not checkers. The moves that they made in the federal trial for Diddy have just softened him up for all of the civil money trials that are coming down the pike. And if we don't get our behaviors in order, then we're going to lose a lot more millionaires, billionaires. I kind of like and appreciate that white people are not the only ones making money. I don't have a vested interest per se, Dr. Moore, in the what happens to celebrities who are that rich, like billionaires and millionaires, like Shannon Sharpe. But I do have an interest in black people not losing their money because they couldn't control their behaviors. Although it should be nobody's business what they do in their own bedroom. If your behavior gets so out of control that even one person finds it problematic, you could be up for public scrutiny, and you don't want that. Your thoughts, Dr. Moore?
Um, I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure. All right.
Well, did you hear the allegations against Shannon Sharpe?
In terms of the white girl that he just settled the case with,
Yeah.
yeah, that's why I said we spoke on this earlier, and I said that I'm a fan of Shannon Sharpe, but I just disagree with his behavior. I don't think that he should. I don't think any 50-year-old person should be dating a 20-year-old person.
Mm.
But that's just my personal. But I mean, at the same time, I'm not going to put myself in a position of being the behavioral police, for
Right.
for grown people,
Right.
or black men. That's not my position. I mean, I can have a personal opinion that there's a lot of problems that I could argue that would come with that age gap. Um, but if they're two consenting adults, I mean, what can I say about that? I think you can't blame the government or social media or whoever for targeting you if you put yourself in that position, because
Mm.
you make yourself a target.
You become a part of the racial system. The system is designed. It doesn't take a prosecutor to prosecute you. The system is designed for you to fail. These traps that the billionaires are seeing are indeed a part of that same system. And as long as you're playing checkers in their system, be prepared for the chess that's coming. You may not be able to survive it. I think Diddy dodged a big bullet. I believe that he was innocent from day one, unlike Cosby and R. Kelly. But they're going to target you, and we should not give them any excuses, black men. That's why I wanted to hire the Honorable Dr. Moore to take the position of helping these celebrities out. It will be a small monetary compensation for you, brother.
Yeah, I think that's YouTube position and a waste of time.
You may not get paid, but you can put it on your resume.
Yeah. Thanks but no thanks, brother. You know.
Tyler Perry, brother. Are you familiar with his allegations?
I am, but I'm not. Again,
Me either.
I
I,
said
I
something.
really didn't care much for Tyler Perry in general, but now I see the pattern, and the pattern is disturbing to me. Here's a white boy, like the white girl in the Shannon Sharpe scenario. That's probably, we can't prove it, but let me just be highly speculative. Do you know any grown men that was sleeping in another grown man's house, brother? That's not just sleep in his house, but wear his pajamas, bubble baths. Do you know any scenarios like that, brother? Am I being facetious?
I think you are, and I don't believe any of that. Man, that makes sense to me.
Well, nevertheless, you sleeping in this man's house. Now you saying that for at least 2 to 3 years he was sexually assaulting. And once again, no police reports. Just a need to be made whole with civil litigation. Come on, black man. I'm not even worried about your sexual orientation, Mr. Taylor, Mr. Perry. What I am concerned with is you allowing yourself to be set up like that. I think they set up Michael Jackson like that, but he would
But see, I don't,
continue.
I don't think Tyler Perry. I don't really know a lot about this allegation,
Me
but
either.
I don't think Tyler Perry set himself up for that. I don't know that any of what is alleged is even true. Um, and the only thing, and even in Shannon Sharpe's case, the only thing I know is what Shannon said and agreed to. He didn't just have sex with this woman. He had an ongoing relationship with this lady for 3 years.
Thank you.
So you know, there's no police records or anything during that time of any abuse. This person, I didn't even know this person you were talking about with Tyler Perry is a white person. He's a white man.
It's some actor that used to work for him.
Yeah, but I mean, I again, man. I mean, I don't get paid to follow these people or anything like that, so I don't follow that. But I am just not a person who is going to entertain negative thoughts about people because somebody said they did X, Y, and Z. I'm just not that person to do that. So I don't unless this guy has something. I I, I think we give. I think the problem we're having right now in contemporary day is everybody has a voice, and we're giving too much attention to you know things that have no validity. It's just people saying things and people just rolling with it. People just saying, "Oh, that person. Did you see this on social media? Did you hear this person said this person did this?" And people are just running with it. I mean, people were saying T.D. Jakes was at these freak offs with P Diddy,
Mm,
had nothing to substantiate that. They just had,
nothing.
you know,
Absolutely nothing.
there were these all these underage children that was at these,
That was a lie.
all of this stuff. And I'm just saying, I mean, people really exhaust themselves with this type of foolishness and they have nothing to substantiate it. And I'm not going to put my brain through, crap like that. It's just, I mean,
So what we're talking about tonight, Dr. Moore, and I'm glad you brought me to it, is belief. It's what you believe. Um, if you believe certain things, you're going to exhibit certain behaviors. I don't think that what you believe should get you thrown in jail, but it may put you on the radar, or at least the wanted list for people that are very good at exploiting people. And we have been exploited for over 500 years to bring us back to reality when we say we don't see racism. Um, the system is designed to take your $1 billion back from you. I think they're even trying to get Oprah now. And this is not even a black male, but there is a lot of resentment from poor whites, even medium whites, who see people like Diddy and Kanye West as someone that has benefited from their culture in white America better than they have. And don't you believe for 1 second, to the audience, let me put this out in the universe, don't believe for 1 second that their envious nature is not designed to watch your downfall, to even promote your downfall. So many people is like, who does Diddy think he is? Mr. Combs pissed off a lot of people at the top and at the middle of white America. And that is why he went through what he went through, not simply his behavior. But that is just my opinion, and I'd like to hear yours. Dr. Moore, let me say this before we bring you to, I'd like you to give your summation. But before I do, this psychological thriller in Idaho, Moscow, I remember bringing up the topic to Dr. Moore, but he wasn't familiar with. 4 white college students lost their lives prematurely and tragically in a horrific murder of these 4 college students in Idaho. It was 3 white girls and 1 white boy, savagely stabbed and killed all in the same night. Well, they finally caught the guy. His name is Brian Koberger. Guess what he was studying in college? Not that it's relevant, but it's just ironic. He was studying clinical psychology, brother. um, and he was just finished his master's in clinical psychology, and he was in the doctorate classes for clinical psychology and criminality. That was his combined study. And he was taking doctorate level classes for that. And he is the one that pled guilty to stabbing these 4 young people, none of them over the age of 23, and ending their lives so tragically. There was so much blood that it was coming down the sides of the house. This is like a real life horror movie. And nobody knew who done it for months. And it was this doctorate student in criminal psychology and behavioral studies that was guilty of it. So he was finally sentenced to yesterday to 40 years to life per person to run consecutively. meaning that after the first 40 years is over to life, he has to do the other 40 years to life 3 more times, plus 10 years. So he's not going to see the light of day ever again. But he did avoid the death penalty. In the state of Idaho, they have death penalty by firing squad. And so he finally confessed. Forgive the long story, brother, but any words on the 4 students in Idaho?
Um, I'm not sure how I'm supposed to respond to that. Any words in terms of them dying, or
Anything
you?
that comes to mind. It doesn't
Only
even
thing,
have to be about their deaths. It's
the only
just
thing that comes up, the first thing that comes to my mind is you said he avoided the death penalty. I don't know how he avoided the death penalty. If you say he
because
got,
he pled guilty. At first, he pled not guilty.
I understand, but what my point is, if he got 40 years consecutively for each life,
I see your point, Dr. Moore.
he did not avoid the death penalty.
It's
he
just going to be a slow death.
Yeah, I mean, that's just semantics, right? It's just, you know, he may not have
Well,
gotten the death
he
penalty by
avoided
the
the
firing squad,
firing squad.
right? He may have avoided that, but he ain't avoided death penalty because he got the death penalty 3 times over.
I think people would much rather, not that it's a choice, but if I had to think of ways to die, the last one would want to be either drowning, fire, or being shot
Oh,
willingly in the chest.
I don't know, man. So for me, listening to what you just read,
Mm-hmm.
um, that's a different type of individual, right? So, because if you're a person and you are studying clinical psychology, any form of psychology, and
Right.
you murder people. Um, that's a different type of mentality, right? So that means that to me, um, this person was somewhat of a psychopath or sociopath,
Hmm.
right? Um, and he was really um, trying to understand some things about people or himself or both, right?
Excellent. That's
And
exactly what people are saying.
right. And maybe out of his frustration or his fixation
Hmm.
with understanding people, he came to that resolve, right?
Hmm.
And um, so when you talk about death for him, I don't know that he sees death the way that you or I see death,
Hmm.
right? Because when the mind starts to roll that way, that you become you're not, you're a different person. So you don't see the world and you don't see people the way that you or I might see people.
Hmm.
So that's why I'm always, that's why I was just talking about celebrities. I was saying, I want to be mindful of talking about celebrities in a way that we think we understand them because we're not, right? Or talking about millionaires or billionaires in a way that we think we understand them because we
Can't even
don't.
fathom their
Right,
reality.
right. And so we're talking really from a layman's term and really makes us you know, kind of lame and talking about that or trying to talk about it in an intelligent way,
Hmm.
right? Talking about people that are millionaires, in a way. Well, and I guess if you're just talking to, regular people might understand what you're trying to say. But
Hmm.
for the millionaires and the billionaires, you really don't understand their
But
lane,
irrelevant.
right? And so same way with a sociopath or a psychopath, you really don't understand their lane, their way of thinking.
Hmm.
Um, the same way, if we're going down this lane of conversation, like a person who has schizophrenia, right, or bipolar,
Hmm.
or schizoaffective, you really don't understand their lane of thinking, right? And so when you're trying to have a conversation about them, talk about them, you have to be careful that you don't do yourself a disservice and talking about them in a way that you don't really understand the way they think,
Mm.
right? So I was having a conversation earlier, with a client's mom,
Mhm.
and she was saying that it really makes her upset when people um, talk about her child having. Hello?
Yeah.
Okay.
The last thing you said was talking about a child.
Yeah. So she said that really, affects her, really makes her upset. And I was trying to, explain to her that a lot of times people are talking about things that they don't themselves understand because they don't really understand schizophrenia. They don't really understand schizoaffective or bipolar or depression, or major depression, and what makes it clinical. And really not to get into a whole big conversation, but to simplify, a lot of what makes depression or major depression, schizoaffective and all that is the time. It's just the time. Because depression is not abnormal. The time that you stay in depression is what's abnormal, right? And so
Mm.
what starts to make depression clinical is if you are depressed for more than 2 weeks, now it starts to become clinical, right?
Mm.
That's when it starts to become problematic. When it starts to affect your normal daily way of functioning, that's when it becomes clinical, and that's when it starts to become problematic, right?
Mhm.
So with schizophrenia and schizoaffective and those type of disorders, because what she was asking me was, you know, what's the difference between having racing thoughts or having abnormal thoughts, or having what she might consider crazy thoughts or whatever. Um, why does that make a person schizoaffective, schizophrenic? And so what I was explaining to her is part of the difference is a normal functioning person, right? If we want to use the word normal, can have racing thoughts or have what we might consider a bizarre thought, right? You can have that thought, but you understand that it's bizarre, right?
Mhm.
You can have thoughts and you can understand that, wow, wait a minute, let me catch myself going down a rabbit hole, right? You can have, you can be conscious enough to know that, wait a minute, my thoughts are really kind of bizarre right now. I'm thinking, this and and I know that I'm thinking this and I know that it's bizarre. So you are kind of aware of that. But with a schizophrenic, schizoaffective person, is they are not aware, right? Not only they're not aware, but they can't control it, right? So you may hear a voice in your head that may say, "Man, I should slap this person," right? Or I should do X, Y, and Z, right? But you are aware that you're thinking abnormal, and you can kind of control the thought, right? But a person who's schizoaffective or schizophrenic, those voices are really, really loud in their head, and they can't control it, and they can't shut it off, right? And so those voices where you can say, "Let me go do something, so I can get away from this thought that's happening," they can't do that. That voice, those voices that they're hearing is pounding. It's really, really,
Mhm.
really loud in their head, right? And they can't stop it, right? And so what they're hearing and what they're seeing, they don't know that other people can't hear that and other people can't see that, and
Mm.
they can't control that, and that's the biggest difference. And so what's happening is there's a chemical imbalance in their brain, in their mind, and they can't naturally deal with that, so they need medication to help manage that, and them trying to manage that without that medication is not going to be possible.
Mm.
So I'm saying all that to go back to your point of what you were asking me earlier about, um, what do I think about the guy who's this pre-med guy or
Right.
clinical psychology person. I on a surface, I don't know, what was happening with this guy, but I can just tell you from a clinical, uh, um, perspective or psychological perspective, I know that there's something else happening there.
Exactly. Exactly. This may have been the first of a series of murders. This may be the first look at a serial killer's first crimes, in the form of the tragedy that Brian Kohlberger is guilty of. Um, he wasn't successful. And the only thing that got him caught was the knife sheath that he used to stab up all of these people. In less than 20 minutes, their lives were over. That knife sheath wasn't left behind, he may have gotten away with the perfect murder. And I think that's what he was trying to achieve, and he couldn't get those thoughts out of his head.
Yeah, well, that sounds premeditated, and
Right.
not only is it premeditated, but it sounds like this guy was trying to understand some things about himself. Um,
Right.
he was trying to figure them out. He was having some irrational thoughts, a lot of irrational thoughts, and probably have had them for a long time, maybe even since childhood. And he
Mm.
was trying to get to a deeper understanding of what was happening,
Mm.
and it kind of just got the best of him before he really could understand what was happening.
Wow. It's a big tragedy. Tonight, we have been listening to Black Mental Health and Race, and we have been talking about our belief systems and how they function in our lives and how we can be associated with good and bad things based upon our behaviors. Um, Knowing those behaviors and understanding those behaviors is not simply the best way to handle those type of situations. We're going to need some type of professional help. Um, I think that is the field that Dr. Moore is in. Um, the therapeutic approach to getting to know yourself and the behaviors that you are obsessed with. If you can speak to that before we go, Dr. Moore, I would appreciate a good summation of all the things we talked about tonight. Take us home, brother.
But you want me to give a summation of the last 2 hours of what we spoke
It's
about?
been 2 hours. I've been trying to keep this under one.
Bruh, there's
You
no
got to
way.
get up in the morning.
Exactly.
Make it short, brother. I don't
Yeah,
want
bro.
to be blamed for you missing this shit.
Trust me, I'm not. And I mean, I don't have a, you know, you know, you want to make it lighthearted and not so serious. So trying to summarize, I can't remember what we talked about from start to finish.
Well, you
Because
can
we,
generalize it for what people believe and how it makes them behave.
well, it's very simple, bro. As a man thinketh, so is he.
Hmm. Go
You
ahead,
know,
brother. And
so
how can we save black billionaires from themselves?
bro, that's not a fair question. You ain't saving no. First of all, I'm not a black billionaire, and ain't no black billionaire tuning into this
No, how
conversation.
can we save them? Like we watched them tear down Fred Sanford. We watched them tear down Sammy Davis Jr. These people that had millions and billions of dollars.
Yeah, but
We
we can't.
watched them tear down Michael Jackson.
Bro, but the thing is, we can't save them. That's not
And
a
that may be the point of tonight's discussion, brother. Go ahead.
there's no. I wouldn't even put myself in a position of trying to carry the mantle of how to
Why
save.
should we care?
Well, I'm not saying why should we care, but why would we jump over poor black folks to talk about saving rich black folks? That in and of itself is a problem. Um, you know, I think that you need, billionaire people to talk to billionaire people, or millionaire people to talk to millionaire people about, because millionaires millionaires are talking to millionaires, thousandaires are talking to thousandaires, poor heirs are talking to poor heirs, right? So there's no millionaire, billionaire gonna tune in to listen to, you know, people like you and I talk about how they could be saved. That's not realistic, right? So, and and it's not intelligent to try to talk about that from our perspective. But if we want to talk about how we save ourselves from ourselves, that's a different conversation, right?
Yes, sir.
But
Maybe you can approach it that way.
but
Bring it back to yourself.
yeah, but the celebrities of the world, this is not a podcast for them, to listen to realistically think that they will listen to save themselves, because they're not looking to save themselves, and they're surely not looking or listening for
They
you
don't
or
see
I.
themselves in trouble.
Well, even if they did, they're not. I mean, they have enough resources to not listen to you and I,
I like the
right?
way you put that, brother.
Right.
I
So
think a lot of people have a lot of resources not to listen to us.
right, right. So I wouldn't want someone to listen to this podcast in the future and hear you and I talk about how we think millionaires could be saved. I don't think that would serve us, and I don't think that anybody would take it serious. Having that type of conversation. Um, I think that we might serve the audience a little bit better if we just talk about how we can save one another. Well, I think we should start there. When we get the millionaire status, then we can talk about, you know, how millionaires save one another, what millionaires do, what billionaires do. But that's a conversation with Charlemagne the God, and the things that he does and that he puts out there that are effective, that people that listen to him, and the resources that he utilizes, that they might find effective. But
Right.
that I don't think it's logical, you know, for the giraffe to listen to the grasshopper telling him where he should get his food, or how he should live his life. You know, those two people don't take advice from one another,
Right.
right? So, so in saying that, I think that um, if we're talking about what best practices for what we should and shouldn't do in terms of our daily habits, or how we protect ourselves from what.
Um, hello?
Yeah,
Yeah. You
yeah,
said from what?
yeah. So I was asking you that question.
Oh, in a rhetorical way, or you want to answer?
No, so you were saying that your initial question was, how do we save millionaires from what?
Oh, from their behaviors
Oh, yeah.
and their beliefs. There's certain type of beliefs that led to the behaviors, right? I mean, just intrinsically in the
Well,
study of human nature.
yeah, but I don't know that is that for them, right? I don't think that it's beliefs or whatever. I just think that it's um um those, from the people that we talk about. You talking about sexual proclivities.
Hmm.
I don't think it has anything to do with their belief system or anything like that. I think that they just have unhealthy sexual behaviors. Um, but I don't really see it anything deeper than that. Um, but and I don't. And the only thing that's going to save them or save us, is discipline. If you don't
Mm.
have if you don't have self-discipline, self-awareness about what it is you're doing, and the more money you have, the less discipline, a lot of people have, because freedom gives you, money gives you, freedom, right? And with those freedoms, you do things that other people can't do,
Correct.
right? And it's almost like, with the 5% nation and the Nation of Islam, right? The one thing that the Nation of Islam gave you with supreme wisdom, knowledge, and understanding is discipline, right?
That's correct.
And the difference with the 5% nation is you got supreme wisdom, but you didn't have discipline, right?
Mm.
And that's why you would see Father Law, he might be drunk in a ditch someplace,
Mm.
whereas you might see Brother, Ben X, you know,
You're not gonna see him in the ditch.
right? You're gonna see him building,
Right.
with the knowledge that he has, you know, and so he's not gonna be as self-destructive as the brother with knowledge but no discipline,
Yes, sir.
you know. In the same way with, a millionaire or billionaire or just a regular you and I, um, you know, the discipline that we're gonna have with or without money is gonna be the determining factor.
Mm. Yes, sir. That makes a lot of sense, brother. I think if there are any takeaways from tonight's discussion, because I originally wanted to talk about religion, what we believe, and how that has a deterministic value in terms of our behavior. But we actually had a bunch of celebrity deaths that kind of veered the situation towards celebrities and why they're so constant on most of our minds. And if we could use their lives, even though they're billionaires, to compare it to not their financial status, but their emotional status, their state of mind, and how can we compare it to our own selves and not self-sabotage. Look at this guy, Brian Kohlberger. He has everything going for him academically, and he's off to the start of a illustrious career in a prestigious field, and he gives it all up because of his impulses that he cannot control.
Well, I don't want to simplify that. In that it's you talking about the college student, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know that it's just impulses that he can't control. That's a complete different situation. If you're talking about behaviors that you can't control in terms of a Puffy or Shannon Sharpe, that those impulses aren't really psychological, you know, um, compared to the college student that you're telling me about.
Mm-hmm.
That's I see those situations as completely different.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're talking about some things that are sexual in nature and things that are psychological. Those things are two different things. I don't know that this guy was able psychologically to control what was happening with him, as opposed to a P Diddy or Shannon Sharpe, um, who were just um, kind of impulsive in terms of their sexual desires. I think those situations are different, because I wouldn't put those situations on the clinical, where I believe the other situation seems psychological and clinical.
Mm-hmm.
because Shannon Sharpe or P Diddy, they weren't killing people,
Right.
nor that they have those urges to.
Which necessitates a distinction.
Right.
Would you say that both, whether they're different or not, um, comes down to the discipline you have within yourself,
Well, it's different
not
if
to
you.
be distracted by our indulgences,
Well,
whether it be murder or sex?
but those are two different things,
Got it. But
right?
wouldn't it be in our best interest to be more disciplined?
Yeah, but I think I think it's different if it's discipline as opposed to clinical or psychological. Because if
Mm,
it's psychological, you aren't able to control it on your own,
right. There is no discipline.
right? So it's not like if you have something in your mind about killing people, that's different,
Hmm.
right? That's going to require a different type of discipline
Hmm.
that you probably not going to be able to manage on your own.
Right.
Um, if you're a psychopath or a sociopath, that's a different addiction as opposed to a sex addiction.
Hmm.
At least I think, particularly if it's a sex addiction that's not including like children or something like that. That's something
Right.
that's a different type of
Right.
sexual addiction. But if you're talking about adults with a sexual, yeah, even if you want to call it a sexual addiction, I don't know if I would call it that because it just sounds like you know, um, attractions and things like that.
Hmm.
Um, but even with Diddy, there were drugs and things like that was involved, and I don't even know that I can compare Diddy with Shannon Sharpe because um, there were no drugs involved, and he thought that he was actually in a relationship. You know,
Hmm.
so all those situations are very different to me.
Right. I do have to say that they try to paint Diddy as this big drug kingpin, but his so-called drug mule, Brendan Paul, this white boy that was a former basketball player in college, I believe, um, was found the day of the raid with zero point 0.7 grams of cocaine, brother. And if you remember the Richard Pryor joke, he said that Leon Spinks, if he went to the door, they said the press found $1.50 worth of cocaine on Leon Spinks, and he got arrested for it. And Richard Pryor's joke was, if you come, can you picture Leon Spinks going to a drug dealer spot and ordering, can I get $1.50 worth of cocaine? He said, if you ask for that amount of cocaine, that little small, minute amount of cocaine, the drug dealer is going to turn you in, is going to call the cops on you because you're going to get him busted for $1.50 worth of cocaine. So,
First of all, there's no such thing as $1.50 worth of cocaine.
right, which is should be the joke. And can you imagine what zero point 0.7 grams of cocaine is? I can't even fathom that. That's a number less than one.
Yeah, nobody can sell you that. I
So,
mean,
right,
you
but
you
they were trying to make Diddy as this big drug distribution under Bad Boys and Sean Chrome Enterprises. Well, where's the profit? How did he make profit off of zero point 0.7 grams of cocaine? The least I know about the streets, you don't sell cocaine by zero point 0.7 anything. I don't even think that there's a scale that can hold zero point 0.7 grams of cocaine. That's like a microscopic amount of cocaine. It's like a speck of dust. But these are the pictures they painted, and they wanted us to believe them. And I think that was if you don't have the mental discipline to understand where people's exaggerations are not the truth, then you believe all of the things. Jamie Foxx just did a comedy special where he confronted people that were trying to say that he was in some sexual cult with P. Diddy. All of that was a lie. For a year and a half, um, Jamie Foxx had a stroke and had to recover from that stroke. He wasn't nowhere around, and all of these rumors were flying around about him being almost killed by P. Diddy. He said, "Where did y'all get that from? Why did y'all believe that?" Instead of the real story that I was actually struggling for my life after my stroke. He said that in his comedy special. But it's what we believe that convinces us uh, how we should look at other people. And maybe that needs to get more discipline, where we just don't believe people right off the back. I think both myself and Dr. Moore are very skeptical of stories that we hear. Your thoughts, Dr. Moore, as we close this out?
No, I'm more than skeptical. I can tell you on break. I don't believe shit that I see or read. I mean, it's not even. I don't really even entertain um, stuff like that. Now, it's surely, you know, I mean, that's not where I spend my time. That's not where I spend my thoughts at all about what people have to say about people. That's not even,
Hmm.
um, that's not um, a problem at all for me in terms of me feeding into that, buying into that, or wasting my time strolling that type of information.
Hmm.
In fact, I think if you got time for that, you got too much time.
It must be something you need to self improve on.
Right.
Hmm. And on that note, brother, I think we've put out enough energy into the universe that you can all make your own choices in life and have your own discipline for what you accept and what you believe. But remember that your greatest state of mind is a positive mind and one that is skeptical of everything, because you can tear things down, but the truth will always build itself back up. Your thoughts?
Um, yeah. I, I just think at the end of the day is regardless of what you say, regardless of what you do, um, where you spend your time is a reflection of really what you're gonna have. So if you spend your time listening to other people, if you spend your time strolling, if you spend your time, you know, doing X, Y, and Z, the reality is, at the end of the day, you are going to get what you spend your time doing.
Hmm. Yes, sir. And that is it in a nutshell. We don't mean to minimize it, but we have to go. And on that note, Dr. Moore, thank you once again for your participation. We try to get together at least once a month. I'm going to try to put out more solo episodes during the week when we do have these hot topics. Um, and hopefully I can get you to be thinking about a situation from a critical thinking standpoint. This is chess, not checkers. So you have to be thinking at least 8 moves in advance to know how to deal strategically and navigate through all of the traps. Cassie was a trap. Jane Doe was a trap. Um, this 19-year-old white girl was a trap. This movie actor was a trap for Mr. Perry. Don't get caught in those traps. But it's easier said than done. The human nature says that we're more opportunistic sexually. I don't know if I can prove that psychology, Dr. Moore, psychologically, but just out of my personal opinion, I think that if we're not well disciplined, we will give in to the opportunistic um, aspects of sexuality.
If we're not what? That we're given to, if we're not disciplined?
Right. I think we see that in the Diddy case. I think we see that in the Tyler Perry case, which is all allegations at this point. But the settled case for Shannon Sharpe proves that our impulses, if they're not disciplined, are to indulge in sexual activity. We just don't want to get caught for it.
I don't know. I think all those situations sound completely different. Or I'm not
True
sound, but
indeed.
I think they all are different,
They are.
and they
Agreed.
um they don't sound opportunistic from any of those, from Diddy's position, Shannon Sharpe's position, or Tyler Perry's position. It seems opportunistic from the people who are alleging these assaults to them. So
Hmm.
they're the opportunists
Hmm.
that's taking advantage of those people. Um, the I mean, I think that Shannon Sharpe was definitely out of his league. Um, messing with this young person. I think that um, I think that Diddy was. I think his situation was more um, power and control,
Mhm.
and I don't think anything at all of Tyler Perry. I don't believe anything whatsoever about what this guy is alleging with Tyler Perry. I just don't believe it at all. So I'm not going to
Right.
give that person. I don't want to give that person any more airtime.
Right.
I think that I think it's bullshit.
Well, if you are a celebrity and you are listening, which is highly unlikely, as Dr. Moore said, but if you are listening, pass this on to someone. Maybe they can use it. Maybe you need a conversation. Peace. Peace to the universe.
Peace to the God.
Orlon, brother, Orlon.